देश के विभिन्न पार्टियों के नेता अलग अलग बैठे थे और नरेंद्र मोदी ससर रहे थे आगे। हम एक नहीं थे, एक मंच पर एक एक उम्मीदवार खड़ा नहीं होते थे, उसका खमियाजा देश को भुगतना पड़ा और मोदी काफ़ी इसका लाभ उन्होंने उठाया। हम शुरू से ही यह लड़ाई लड़ते रहे हैं कि भाजपा हटाओ देश बचाओ। भा मने भाजपा, ज मने जलाओ और पा मने पार्टी बोलते रहते थे। ये बात सही हो रहा, सही निकल रहा। इस देश में माइनॉरिटी सुरक्षित नहीं है। क्या क्या हुआ आपको मालूम होगा इस देश का क्या हो रहा है कि आज हमारे अल्पसंख्यक भाई सुरक्षित नहीं है, महसूस नहीं कर रहे हैं। अच्छा, देश में गरीबी बढ़ रही है, महंगाई बढ़ रही है। 60 रुपया किलो भिंडी हो गया, भिंडी। टमाटर का जो हाल है सो जानते ही हैं, जबकि टमाटर में कोई स्वाद भी नहीं है इनके राज में। लगातार लड़ाई लड़ते लड़ते हम लोग आज इस मुकाम पर आए हैं कि अब हम सब पटना, बंगलोर और महाराष्ट्र, यहाँ मुंबई में ये मीटिंग के बाद अब एक निष्कर्ष पर हम लोग पहुँचे हैं और एक स्वरूप बना है, संगठन बना है जो पढ़ के आपको लोग को सुनाया गया। आप सबको याद होगा कि कितना झूठ बोल करके, कितना अफवाह फैला करके इस सत्ता में लोग आए थे। मेरा भी नाम उस समय और देश के नेताओं का नाम इन लोगों ने यह प्रचारित किया था कि इन लोगों का पैसा स्विस बैंक में जमा है, स्विस बैंक में। और मोदी जी बोले कि हम आएंगे और स्विस बैंक का पैसा ला करके हम देश के तमाम लोगों को हर के को खाता खुलवाया कि 5-5 लाख रुपया जमा करेंगे, 15-15 लाख रुपया। हम भी झांसा में आ गए और हमने भी अपना खाता खुलवाया। मेरे 7 बेटियां, 2 बेटा और पति पत्नी दोनों मिला के 11 हो जाते हैं। देखा कि भाई 15 से गुना कर दीजिए, पैसा काफ़ी मिल जाएगा। हमने तो पशुपालन में कोई पैमानी शैतानी भ्रष्टाचार नहीं किया जो भ्रष्टाचार नरेंद्र मोदी कर रहे हैं, करा रहे हैं। सारे देश भर के लोग खाता खुलवा दिया, सब गरीब गुरबा आदमी प्रचारित करवाया इन लोगों ने। और मिला क्या, सो देश के लोगों को मालूम होगा, आप लोगों को भी मालूम होगा, आप लोग में से भी खुलवाए होंगे आप लोग पर प्रेस के लोग भी। हो सकता है भाई मिल जाए, पैसा है देश का तो मिल जाए, वापस आ जाए। एक पैसा नहीं, सब इन्हीं लोगों का पैसा था। अभी काफ़ी जय जयकार हो रहा, होना चाहिए, वैज्ञानिकों का होना चाहिए। चंद्रयान पर लोग गए, सब घूमे फिरे लोग, हमारे वैज्ञानिक, देश का नाम ऊंचा हुआ। अब हमने सुना है कि मोदी जी अब ये सोच रहे हैं और इसीलिए पहले ही लोकसभा का मीटिंग भी सुना, बुला दिया है। हमने ये सुना किसी जिम्मेवार आदमी ने कहा कि भाई हम लोग तो अब इतना देश के वैज्ञानिक आगे देश को ऊंचा कर दिए, दुनिया में नाम हो गया। हम अपील कर रहे हैं इसरो के वैज्ञानिकों से, अपने देश के वैज्ञानिकों से कि भाई मोदी जी को पीछे नहीं रहना चाहिए। इनको चंद्रलोक से की बात छोड़ो, अब सूर्यलोक पर इनको पहुंचाओ। पहुंच तो जाओ, हाँ, दुनिया भर में नाम हो जाएगा मोदी जी का। अमेरिका सब देश कहाँ पीछे छिटा जाएगा। राहुल गांधी जी घूमते रहते हैं अमेरिका में, कई देश में घूमे, इनको अवसर मिला है। तो ये भी देख लेगा कि भाई मोदी जी सचमुच में देश का नाम करने के लिए अब ये चल पड़े हैं आगे। दशहरा के बाद इसकी तैयारी कर लें, हमारी शुभकामना है कि चले जाएं। इतनी गरीबी है, गुरबा लोग हैं, बेकारी है, चारों तरफ फैला हुआ है, और बोलते हैं कि देश आगे बढ़ गया, कि देश आगे बढ़ गया। देश के नेताओं को कोई भी ऐसा नेता नहीं छूटा है जिसको ईडी में, सीबीआई में ये ना फंसाए हों, सबको फंसा के। ये हम देखते थे पहले के ज़माना में, सुनते थे कि जो बड़े लोग होते थे, सामंती लोग होते थे, वो गरीबों को और मिडिल क्लास के लोगों को मुकदमा में फंसा के और शासन करते थे। कोई इनकी आदत हो गई है, और हम लोग डरने वाले नहीं हैं। हमने अपना किडनी ट्रांसप्लांट कराया है, कोई शौक से नहीं कराया है। डॉक्टरों ने कहा कि करा लो भाई। हमारी बेटी सिंगापुर में रहती है, उसने अपना किडनी दान दे दिया, जीवन दान दिया हमारी बेटी। और वहाँ इतना हम अपना शरीर का ऑपरेशन कराए हुए हैं, कोई ठिकाना नहीं। और पहले इस रोग के अलावा एशियन हार्ट इंस्टीट्यूट डॉक्टर पंडा है यहाँ, नामी ग्रामी सर्जन हैं। 5-6 हमारा ऑपरेशन हो चुका है, लेकिन आप सबका आशीर्वाद और कृपा है कि हम जीवित हैं, और हम आगे भी हम काफ़ी, मेरा हौसला मजबूत है कि हम रहेंगे, और मोदी जी को हटा के ही हम दम लेंगे हम लोग। इसलिए हम लोगों ने संकल्प लिया है, बिल्कुल। और सुन ले मोदी जी, अब आप समझ लेना कि पहले से मैं आपसे लड़ते आ रहा हूँ, गुजरात के युद्ध के लड़ाई राइट के समय से। आपके और आपके गुरु, कौन अध्यक्ष है वो? हाँ? नहीं, उनके पार्टी के अध्यक्ष जी हैं। अडवाणी जी को तो गिरफ्तार किया था, वो नहीं भाई। ये अरे अभी जो है मौजूद अमित शाह, बताओ, ही कहा कि शाह नेता हो गए, कब का संघर्ष किया हुआ भाई। हम थे राज्यसभा में, थे उन दिनों में। भैरव सिंह शेखावत साहब जी उपराष्ट्रपति थे, और दंगा जब हुआ तो चारों तरफ देश और दुनिया भर में यूरोपियन कंट्री ने अपने नागरिकों को मना कर दिया कि मत जाना उधर, भारत में मत जाना, और इनका प्रवेश भी निषेध हो गया था विदेशों में। आप सब लोगों को मालूम है किस तरह का इनका इतिहास रहा है। हम गमछी बिछा के फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस में वहाँ बैठ गए आगे, चेयरमैन के चेयर के नीचे। हम कहा कि मोदी को गिरफ्तार करो, गिरफ्तार करो मोदी को, नहीं तो नहीं उठेंगे। चारों तरफ से हाउस गर्म हो गया, गर्म हो गया हाउस। और गर्म होने के बाद काफी इनको परेशानी हुई। और स्वर्गीय अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी, वो नेता थे, ऐसा नेता हमने नहीं देखा। उन्होंने कहा नरेंद्र मोदी को कि राजधर्म भी कोई चीज होता है, राजधर्म। लेकिन जो आदमी गिरफ्तारी के बाद इतना सारा विपक्ष सब लोग हम लोग जुट गए थे कि भाई कम से कम कंडेम भी करो उनके एक्शन को, नहीं किया ये लोग। डिप्लोर मतलब किया कि वो भी नहीं, अंदर से नहीं निकला इन लोगों को कि हम निंदा करें, इतने बड़े नरसंहार हुआ था, क्या क्या हुआ उसको दोहराने की जरूरत नहीं है। हम सब लोग ज़्यादा भाषण नहीं, भाषण का तो मेरा, हमारे दीदी भी यहाँ बैठी हुई है, ममता दी निकल गई। अच्छा चले, तो सारे जो उस समय लोग थे हमारे साथी, बालू जी भी निकल गए। हाँ हाँ घर प्लेन है तो हम भी, मेरा भी प्लेन है, अभी निकल जाए। हम क्यों पीछे रहे, हम भी निकल जाते हैं। फ्लाइट के टाइम आ गया। तो आप सभी पत्रकार भाइयों को मैं प्रणाम करता हूँ, सलाम करता हूँ, आदाब करता हूँ। हम सब एक हैं और एक होकर के हम लोग इस लड़ाई को लड़ रहे हैं। और राहुल गांधी जी को भी हम काफ़ी मजबूती के साथ विश्वास हम लोग दिलाते हैं कि हम सब एकजुट हो करके सभी लोगों को एकोमोडेट करके आगे सीट शेयरिंग अब शुरू होगा, सीट शेयरिंग। और सीट शेयरिंग में हम लोग सब लोग सफल होंगे, कोई दिक्कत कठिनाई नहीं होगी, कहीं कोई हर्डल नहीं होगा। अपना कुछ नुकसान करके भी हम लोग इंडिया को, ये संघ है, हम लोग जिताएंगे और मोदी को हटाएंगे और देश को बचाएंगे। सभी लोगों को नमस्कार, जिंदाबाद, सब प्रणाम। क्या चलो टाइम भी हो गया, तो नमस्ते सब लोगों को, प्रणाम। पवार साहब के लिए भी हम लोगों की शुभकामना है। आप पुराने नेता हैं, डटे रहिएगा, अपना पार्टी को मजबूत रखिए, हम लोग आपके साथ हैं।
अब मैं सीताराम येचुरी जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं, अपनी बात रखें।
You are watching India Today.
Once again, India Today wins Best Channel of the Year.
Thank you very much, viewers, for making the India Today group the most awarded TV news network at the ENVA Awards 2023.
Sun keeps the solar system together. from the biggest planet Jupiter to the smallest particles in its orbit. 4.5 billion years old Sun is a hot glowing ball of hydrogen and helium. Sun can accommodate 1.3 million Earths. From the powerful eruptions to the steady stream of charged particles, the Sun influences the nature of space throughout the solar system. Sun doesn't spin like, let's say, the Earth. Sun is made up of super hot, electrically charged gas called plasma. This plasma rotates at different speeds on different parts of the Sun. At its equator, the Sun completes one rotation in 25 Earth days. At its poles, the Sun rotates once on its axis every 36 Earth days. The temperature in the Sun's core is about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, or 15 million degrees Celsius. It is so hot that it can sustain a nuclear fusion. This creates outward pressure that supports the star's gigantic mass, keeping it from collapsing. Above the Sun's surface are its thin chromosphere and the huge corona or the crown. This is where features such as solar prominences, flares, and coronal mass ejections happen. Sun flares and coronal mass ejections are giant explosions of energy and particles that can reach Earth. A solar probe typically looks at studying all of these from a safe distance so that nothing
It's always fun to see one of your favorite celebrities become a showstopper for these couturiers, and a lot of Bollywood made its way to the Couture Week this year in Delhi. Right from Ranbir Kapoor to Bhumi Pednekar, Ananya Pandey, Kiara Advani, Vani Kapoor, you name it, and they graced the runway. Here is all the celebrity action. The 16th edition of India Couture Week, organized by FTCI, saw Bollywood celebrities turn showstoppers. Right from Ranbir Kapoor to Kiara Advani, one saw a plethora of celebrities spruce up the runway.
I feel like a golden girl. I feel very glamorous, but I also feel very comfortable, and I always have a great time working with Rimzim. And it's always there's lots of chaotic energy at Fashion Week, but somehow I managed to keep my...
Fantastic session of the India Alliance. Two very big steps were taken. The most important thing to understand is that this stage represents 60% of the Indian population. If the parties on this stage unite, it is impossible for the BJP to win an election. So the task in front of us is to come together in the most efficient way possible. And two big steps have been taken in that regard. The first step is a coordination committee and committees under that committee. And the second step is a decision that we will expedite all seat sharing discussions and decisions and make them happen as soon as possible. These are two very, very powerful steps in ensuring that the India Alliance defeats the BJP. The election is very, very clear. I did a press conference yesterday, and the nexus between the Prime Minister and a particular businessman is there for every single person to see. I mentioned yesterday in my press conference that the G20 is taking place, and it is very important for India's credibility, our nation's credibility, that the Prime Minister makes his position very clear and begins an inquiry on what has happened with regards to Mr. Adani. The Prime Minister and the BJP are a nexus of corruption. And that is the first thing that the India Alliance is going to demonstrate and prove. The idea behind Prime Minister Modi's government is to extract money from the poor people of this country and transfer it to a limited few. And so we are going to propose a clear path, development path. We are going to put together a clear set of ideas that will once again involve the poor people, the farmers, the kisans, the workers in the progress of this country. I'd like to once again thank all the senior leaders, and I'm confident that the India Alliance will defeat the BJP. The final thing I'd like to say, of course there are leaders who are much more senior than me, but the real work in this alliance is the relationships that are forged between the leaders of this alliance. And I can say with confidence that these two meetings have done a huge amount in building the rapport between all the leaders and ensuring that all of us work together as one. I can see that there is flexibility among all the leaders in the way we are approaching things. There are differences, of course, but I am extremely impressed by the way those differences are minimized and ironed out. Thank you very much. Of course, I don't want to comment much about the press, but I think Laluji said it best. You're also in some ways restricted and chained, and India Alliance is working to free you from your chains. Thank you. Sorry, I forgot one thing. I forgot one thing, which is probably the most important thing. I spent a week in Ladakh. I went to Pangong Lake, right in front of where the Chinese are. And I had detailed discussions, probably the most detailed discussions that any politician outside Ladakh has had with the people of Ladakh. And specifically, the shepherds of Pangong Lake, the leaders of Pangong Lake, and the common people who live around Pangong Lake. And they categorically told me that the Chinese have taken Indian land. They categorically told me that the Prime Minister is lying about the fact that the Chinese have not taken Indian land. And every single person in Ladakh knows that the people of India and the people of Ladakh have been betrayed by the government of India. There is clearly an accommodation that has happened between the government and the Chinese. There is clearly a change on the borders. Our shepherds themselves told us that they are not being allowed into the areas where they were allowed. So this is known to everybody. Unfortunately, our press doesn't raise these issues. But these are issues of national importance, of national security, and it is shameful, extremely shameful, what has happened in Ladakh. Thank you. पूरा बोल देता हूँ. सबसे पहले मैं शरद पवार जी, ठाकरे जी और जो महाराष्ट्र कांग्रेस के हमारे नेता हैं उनको धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने एक बहुत अच्छा सेशन यहां हमारे लिए किया. सेशन में दो महत्वपूर्ण बातें डिसाइड की गई. पहले के एक कोऑर्डिनेशन कमेटी होगी और दूसरी कि जल्दी से जल्दी जो सीट शेयरिंग का मामला है उसको हम डिस्कस करके उसमें हम रेजोल्यूशन निकाल देंगे. नरेंद्र मोदी और अदानी जी के बीच में जो रिश्ता है उसके बारे में मैंने कल बोला. इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंशियल न्यूज़पेपर्स में आया है कि $1 बिलियन पैसा हिंदुस्तान से गया है, बाहर गया है और वापस आया है. नरेंद्र मोदी जी G20 करा रहे हैं और हिंदुस्तान की इज्जत का मामला है. नरेंद्र मोदी जी को कह देना चाहिए कि वो इंक्वायरी कराएंगे और अगर वो इंक्वायरी नहीं कराएंगे तो फिर पूरे देश को पता लग जाएगा कि क्यों इंक्वायरी नहीं कराई जा रही है. स्टेज पे जो नेता हैं, जो पार्टीज हैं, वो हिंदुस्तान के 60% लोगों को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं और अगर हम एक साथ मिलके चुनाव लड़ेंगे तो बीजेपी चुनाव जीत ही नहीं सकती है. और मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि जो हमारी पार्टीज हैं, जो हमारे नेता हैं, उनके बीच में जो रैपोर है, जो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है, वो गहरी होती जा रही है. और मुझे लगता है कि इंडिया अलायंस बीजेपी को चुनाव में आसानी से हरा देगा. बीजेपी हिंदुस्तान के गरीब लोगों से धन छीनकर चुने हुए 2-3 लोगों को देती है. हमने प्रोग्राम्स की बात की है. एक हम कमेटी बना रहे हैं जो पॉलिसीज के बारे में डिस्कशन करेगी और जो हमारे किसान हैं, मजदूर हैं, गरीब लोग हैं, उनके लिए जो हमारा विजन है वो हम थोड़ी ही देर में हिंदुस्तान को, आप सबको दिखाएंगे. थैंक यू.
इंडिया अलायंस के एक मजबूत स्तंभ आदरणीय शरद पवार जी.
सम्माननीय वैश्विक और साथियों, कल से हम देश के 28 पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के नेता की जिनकी उपस्थिति 68 के आसपास थी, यहाँ बैठे और कई दिनों से हमारे सबके मन में देश के सामने कोई गंभीर समस्या है, इस पर बहस करके आगे की नीति तय करने का काम इस 2 दिन के सेशन में हम लोगों ने किया. मैं शुरू में सभी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी जो बाहर से यहाँ आए, इनके यहाँ जो प्रबंधन व्यवस्था करने की जिम्मेदारी
उद्धव ठाकरे जी के नेतृत्व वाली शिवसेना हो, कांग्रेस पार्टी हो, राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस पार्टी हो, सभी साथियों ने अच्छी तरह से की और इसलिए इन सभी नेता लोगों को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि जिसकी शुरुआत हमने बिहार में की थी, कर्नाटक में की, इस 38वां दफा महाराष्ट्र में हुआ और आगे की लाइन हमारी तय होने में इसकी बहुत मदद हो गई। आज देश में अलग अलग राज्यों में अलग अलग स्थिति है, लोगों की समस्या बहुत है, चाहे किसान की समस्या हो, खेडूत की समस्या हो, मजदूरों की समस्या हो या नौजवान साथियों की समस्या हो। आज जिन लोगों ने एक भरोसे से देश की कारोबार चलाने की जिम्मेदारी भारतीय जनता पार्टी इन लोगों के साथियों के हाथ में दी, आज वही लोगों में एक तरह से नाराजगी की भावना थी जगह जगह पर देखने के लिए मिलती है। उनकी सच्ची समस्या है, मगर हुकूमत हाथ में आने के बाद जिन लोगों के एक जमाने में जमीन पर फैल थे, आज जो अधिकार हाथ में मिला, इसका नतीजा, इसका परिणाम इन नेतृत्व करने वाले लोगों के काम करने के निर्णय में हो गया। आज हम लोग देखते हैं कि राजनीति में राजनीतिक दल मिलकर काम करने की तैयारी करते हैं तो उनका काम हो, उनकी नीति हो, इस बारे में कुछ आशंका हो सकती है, मगर खाली यहाँ मीटिंग करने की बात तय हो गई तो इस पर भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोगों ने क्रिटिसिज्म किया। उन लोगों ने कहा नेतृत्व ने कि मिलने की क्या आवश्यकता है, प्रजातंत्र में कोई भी इशू दो लोगों के सामने इसलिए मिलकर आपस में बहस करके कोई रास्ता निकलेगा कैसे, इस पर ध्यान देना, ये तो कोई गलत बात नहीं है, मगर हम लोग यहाँ मिले इस पर भी एक तरह का क्रिटिसिज्म हमारे कुछ साथियों ने किया। इसे एक ही बात साफ होती है कि 10 साल देश की हुकूमत हाथ में आने के बाद जो जैसे मैंने कहा कि जमीन पर पैर रख के काम करने की आवश्यकता है, इससे नेतृत्व करने वाले लोग बहुत दूर रहे। कभी कभी अपोजिशन के लोग जब बैठे हैं तो उनके बारे में देश के भारतीय जनता पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेता इन लोगों के बारे में घमंडिया ऐसा उनका उल्लेख करके उनके बारे में बातें करते। इसे एक ही बात साफ होती है कि घमंडिया कौन है कि जिन्हें लोग मिलकर आपस में बैठने की तैयारी करते हैं, ये भी जिनको पसंद नहीं उन्हें घमंडिया कहने की आवश्यकता है। और ऐसी एक शक्ति देश के हितों की रक्षा करने वाली नहीं, इस पर मिलकर कुछ न कुछ रास्ता निकलना चाहिए और ये रास्ता निकलने के लिए हम कुछ लोग कई दिनों से आपस में बात करते थे और जिससे इंडिया के नाम पर एक नया विकल्प देश में तैयार करने की कोशिश हम लोगों ने शुरू की है और इसका ही ये सम्मेलन यहाँ का सम्मेलन था। मुझे खुशी है कि देश के लोगों ने जो कुछ हम करना चाहते हैं इस बारे में मुझे गंभीरता से देखने की बात की। मीडिया ने ये जो कुछ हम कर रहे हैं ये देशवासियों के सामने अच्छी तरह से रखने के लिए अपना काम किया। मैं इतना ही आपको वायदा करता हूँ, हम रुकेंगे नहीं, हम गलत रास्ते पर जाएंगे नहीं। गलत रास्ते पर जो राह रहे उनको ठीक रास्ते पर लाने के लिए और ठीक रास्ते पर आते नहीं तो उन्हें दूर करने के लिए जो कोई करने की आवश्यकता है वो हम कंधे को कंधे मिलाकर मिलकर हम करेंगे और देशवासियों के सामने एक साफ सुथरा प्रशासन देने की जो आवश्यकता है इसके लिए जो कुछ करना होगा वही करेंगे। इतना मैं कहना चाहता हूँ। ये सब करने के लिए हमारे सब साथियों ने बहुत मेहनत की। तीनों पार्टी के नेता लोगों ने उनके सब साथियों ने मेहनत की। अनेक कई राज्यों से जो हमारे साथी यहाँ आ गए, मैं इन सभी को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि ये अधिवेशन कामयाब होने के लिए सभी लोगों ने साथ की। ये सभी को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ, मीडिया को धन्यवाद देता हूँ। यहाँ जिन साथियों ने अच्छी तरह से इंतजाम किए इन साथियों को धन्यवाद देता हूँ और आपसे अदा लेता हूँ।
अब नो क्वेश्चन आंसर। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
All right, so no question and answers taken, but that is the Team India Alliance coming together for a quick photo opportunity of whatever leaders are left on the stage. You see Uddhav Thackeray, Aditya Thackeray, Rahul Gandhi, Sanjay Raut, Kharge as well. The press wanting some questions, but the alliance partners this time around not taking any questions. But I would reckon if one is to go by, this has to be the most productive session of the India Alliance meet in its third meet in Mumbai. The Maharashtra chapter possibly has marked the most constructive and productive for Team India. But will they stick to the timelines that they have given themselves? Because if you read, they have come up with a resolution where they have said very clearly that they, against every internal party dynamic, they will come together as one to fight the elections in 2024. They've also said that they will embark on the seat sharing formula on a war footing of sorts. They have also said that they will start with public meetings, rallies as soon as in the next 2 weeks from now. All of that. They've also announced a 13-member committee where you have the top leadership of each party or the others who have full support of their top leadership coming in. Has Team India finally got its act together in terms of a narrative? They haven't quite announced that narrative yet, but will that come out soon in days to come? We'll know. A quick break to stay with us.
You are watching India Today.
Well, as you know, complex war games and military exercises take many weeks to plan and many weeks to execute. There are a lot of moving parts. There is a great deal of detailing that goes into putting together a military exercise of this scale. And the Trishul exercise, by all accounts, is going to be a pretty extensive exercise. As India Today's Manjeet Negi has reported, the Air Force is going to be deploying, almost all of its air assets, or at least, airframes from all of its aircraft fleets at the border areas, with China, whether it is Ladakh or J&K or Punjab or Himachal. It's going to be a big exercise. But let's never forget that there is a great deal of messaging also that happens. The G20 also isn't something that was decided just a few weeks ago. It's been a long time, in the planning phase as well. The dates have been known for a long time as well. So the Indian Air Force deciding to put up this offensive combat war game, military drill, whatever you want to call it, at a time when all these countries are going to be in India. There's still suspense over Xi Jinping's attendance, despite what Reuters and others are reporting. There's no official confirmation. But assuming that even if he doesn't come, the fact is the psychological effect of a vast military exercise on the China border at a time when the India-China standoff continues to be the largest military standoff in the world at this point of time, sends out a huge message as far as a country that will do what it takes to defend itself against an unpredictable and an unsavory neighbor that continues to have territorial ambitions. This is a country, remember, that literally all other, many members of the G20 have problems with, whether it is, whether it is the United States, whether it is Canada, whether it is the United Kingdom. All of these countries have their own individual issues with China, but it is India that is fighting China face to face, diplomatically and of course militarily as well. So this exercise, Trishul, by the Indian Air Force is one element of a game that India, in my opinion, has been late to come to, but is obviously playing it really, really well and playing it in a hard-nosed fashion. Playing mind games, psychological operations, power projection, showing what the Indian Air Force is capable of, choosing to do it using air power, which the Indian Air Force and the Indian government know, India enjoys a huge advantage on, especially in eastern Ladakh. So all of these factors go into, the subtle and overt interplay between two countries that could very well be at war. Thankfully, that's a remote prospect, but this war game certainly goes a great distance in telling both China and the world that India is not just any other country.
Aditya means the sun, and L1 is a point between Earth and Sun that offers an uninterrupted view of the closest star of our galaxy, hence the nomenclature of the latest ISRO project. Sun is the main source of energy of this solar system and holds the biggest secret of this universe. Aditya L1 of ISRO is the first Indian attempt to study and understand the Sun. Aditya will first be placed on Earth-centered orbit before embarking on a 150 million kilometer journey from Earth's sphere of influence to different viewing points around the Sun. It will be placed in a cruising position at L1 between the Earth-Sun system in the halo orbit. The temperature at the surface of the sun is about 10,000 Fahrenheit or 5,600 degrees Celsius. So there's no way anything comes remotely close to its surface without burning down to unimaginable ash particles. So all sun missions are posted at different viewing points between the sun and the earth. These are called Lagrange points. These points are used by the spacecraft to station with minimal use of fuel while they continue to study the sun from a safe distance. There are a total of 5 Lagrange or L points. Aditya would be placed at L1 that lies between Earth and the sun. Aditya L1 will carry 7 payloads. 4 of them will carry out remote sensing of the sun and 3 others will do in situ observations. To understand changes in Earth's ecosystems, study ice mass, vegetation, biomass, sea level rise. These observations and studies will help understand the groundwater of Earth and different natural hazards like earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions and landslides. In total, 9 solar missions have happened so far by countries like the US and the European Union to different Lagrange points of the sun. Aditya L1 comes with the promise to open up a new galaxy of knowledge for India.
The fully electric Audi Q8 e-tron range.
Team India puts its game face on. Early pole buzz triggers India. India's 2024 war cry is out. Together, as far as possible. Can India Alliance truly come together?
यहाँ पे जितने लोग बैठे हैं कोई पद के लिए नहीं आया.
Cracks in the resolution itself. That's our top focus on 5 Live.
The optics are there, the motto is there, the war cry is there. The leaders have come together for a spectacular signal moment for opposition unity. The hard part begins now. We're going to tell you all about the big Team India Alliance meet. This is 5 Live. I'm Shiv. These are the headlines. Top opposition leaders share one stage in Mumbai for day 2 of the Team India huddle. With an eye on the general election, opposition bloc forms a 13-member coordination panel. Centre sets up panel on One Nation, One Poll with former President Ramnath Kovind as the chief. Team India hits out, calls it unconstitutional. Youth shot dead at Union Minister Kaushal Kishore's Lucknow residence. Murder weapon recovered allegedly belongs to the minister's son. After the moon, India aims for the sun. The final countdown begins to ISRO's Aditya L1 launch. The world's most economical and cost-effective sun mission will take place and launch tomorrow at 11:50 a.m. India Today's coverage begins 7 a.m. Amidst suspense over China's Xi Jinping absence at the G20 Summit, US President Biden says he's hopeful his Chinese counterpart will attend the summit in Delhi.
The answer is I hope he attends.
All right, thanks everybody.
The answer is I hope he attends.
All right, thanks everybody.
The massive opposition push for power ahead of the 2024 polls has kicked into a high gear today. The third Team India meet in Mumbai has set the stage for what is going to be a big, iconic clash for the Lok Sabha election. The opposition allies, calling themselves Team India, have decided that they need to get into election mode on a war footing. There's no time for delay. And for that, the biggest thing that matters is thrashing out a difficult and complicated seat-sharing formula in the states amidst all of these parties, many of which are on the ground rivals and are hostile to one another. And for that, the alliance has passed a resolution saying that the parties have resolved to fight the polls together as far as possible. The text "as far as possible" has been included in it, perhaps as a pang of pragmatism. It also says, however, that the seat sharing will be decided in a collaborative spirit of give and take. There is a recognition that this is going to be challenging. It's going to be something that doesn't come easily to many of the parties that make up the Team India alliance, but this is now something that they must all bury their existing differences and focus on uniting over. Seat sharing has to go smoothly because there is no time to waste. A 14-member coordination committee amidst these 23 parties has also been announced, although a convener, like one boss, a convener, has still not been named. The top leaders of the alliance addressed a press conference just before we began this broadcast in Mumbai, where they declared that Team India would defeat Narendra Modi.
The most important thing to understand is that this stage represents 60% of the Indian population. If the parties on this stage unite, it is impossible for the BJP to win an election. So the task in front of us is to come together in the most efficient way possible. And two big steps have been taken in that regard. The first step is a coordination committee and committees under that committee. And the second step is a decision that we will expedite all seat sharing discussions and decisions and make them happen as soon as possible. These are two very, very powerful steps in ensuring that the India alliance defeats the BJP.
हर जगह मीटिंग करेंगे, हर स्टेट कैपिटल में हम जाएंगे और जो ये मुद्दे हैं, इन्फ्लेशन का हो, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट का हो, हर चीज की जो बढ़त हो रही उसका हो, और ऑटोनोमस बॉडीज को सत्यानाश कर रहे हैं, तो ये देश चलाने की रीत नहीं है। ये आहिस्ता आहिस्ता डिक्टेटरशिप की तरफ जा रहे हैं। इसको ढीला करने की कोशिश मोदी जी कितना भी कोशिश करे, हम वो डरने वाले नहीं है।
तो आप अच्छी तरह जान लीजिए कि अब इसी का नतीजा होगा कि अभी जो केंद्र में हैं, अब वो हारेंगे, अब वो जाएंगे, ये पक्का जान लीजिए। और आजकल देख रहे हैं कोई काम नहीं कर रहे हैं और खाली उनका बड़ाई हो रहा है। आज जो राज्य वाला बेचारा जो काम कर रहा है उसकी चर्चा कम होती है। तो ये ना हो गया, इसलिए पटाइए। दूसरी चीज है, देश के इतिहास को ही बदलना चाहते हैं। अब कोई ठिकाना नहीं है, चुनाव समय के पहले भी हो सकता है, कोई ठीक नहीं है, इसलिए हम लोगों को भी तो अलर्ट रहना न पड़ेगा।
अपोजिशन के लोग जब बैठे हैं तो उनके बारे में देश के भारतीय जनता पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेता इन लोगों के बारे में घमंडिया ऐसा उनका उल्लेख करके उनके बारे में बातें करते हैं। इससे एक ही बात साफ होती है कि घमंडिया कौन है कि जिन्हें लोग मिलकर आपस में बैठने की तैयारी करते हैं, ये भी जिनको पसंद नहीं, उन्हें घमंडिया कहने की आवश्यकता है।
ये बात भी सच है कि जैसे जैसे हम करीब आते जा रहे हैं, एक कदम आगे बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, तो इंडिया के विरोधी दल में घबराहट हो रही है। और हम सारे लोगों ने तय किया है कि आने वाले चुनाव में हम तानाशाही के खिलाफ लड़ेंगे। एक डर है, मन में डर है, क्या होगा, अब सेशन होने जा रहा है, क्यों बुलाए हैं, क्या होगा, आधी रात कुछ एक घोषणा हो जाती है, आज से ये बंद, आज से ये चालू। तो ये जो डर है, सब लोगों को हम एक विश्वास दिलाना चाहते हैं कि डरिए मत, भय मुक्त भारत के लिए हम सारे लोग इकट्ठा आए हैं।
मैं पिछली 3 मीटिंग अटेंड कर चुका। मैं आपको पूरी जिम्मेदारी के साथ कह सकता हूं, जितनी अच्छे से और जितने प्यार और मोहब्बत से सारी मीटिंग्स हुई हैं, किसी के साथ लड़ाई नहीं है। और यहाँ पे जितने लोग बैठे हैं, कोई पद के लिए नहीं आया, सब 140 करोड़ लोगों के इस भारत देश को बचाने के लिए आए हैं, इसको तरक्की के रास्ते पे ले जाने के लिए आए हैं। कोई यहाँ पे पद के लिए नहीं आया है।
सवाल चेहरे का नहीं है, सबसे खुशी की बात यह कि सब लोग साथ आ गए और साथ आकर के जब अलग अलग विचारधारा के लोग साथ आए हैं, तो मैं समझता हूँ नाम भी आ जाएगा बहुत जल्दी।
பிரதமராக இருக்கக்கூடிய மோடி அவர்கள் எங்கே போனாலும், அது அரசு நிகழ்ச்சியா இருந்தாலும் சரி, கட்சி நிகழ்ச்சியா இருந்தாலும் சரி, அல்லது தனிப்பட்ட எந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு போனாலும் அங்கெல்லாம் இந்த 9 வருஷமா செஞ்சிருக்கக்கூடிய சாதனைகளை பற்றி சொல்ல முடியாம சிறந்த ஆட்சி நடத்திக்கிட்டு இருக்கோங்கிறத வெளிப்படையாக சொல்ல முடியாத அளவுக்கு அவர் ஆளாகி, நாங்க அமைச்சிருக்கக்கூடிய இந்தியாவுடைய கூட்டணியை பற்றி அவர் அடிக்கடி பேசிக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறாரு.
Okay, let's get a sense of, what many of these statements by all of these leaders on stage signal moment for opposition unity. The resolution has been issued, the focus, the direction of the Team India alliance has been set down, seat sharing and the other big challenges come next. I want to go across to India's #1 political team, tracking the story from Mumbai and Delhi. India Today's Mumbai chief Sahil Joshi, Mosmi Singh there. India Today's Preeti Chaudhary also tracking all developments here as we hear from all of those elements in the Team India alliance. Sahil, first to you, all the top leaders on stage, the optics were fabulous. All the right things have been said. The difficult work starts now, and it looks like seat sharing talks are going to begin immediately.
Well, there are 3 takeaways for me from this particular meeting, because the first meeting, as we have been saying, that Patna meeting was a kind of an introductory meeting. A lot of people have not met each other. A lot of people have been opponents of each other, specifically Aam Aadmi Party, Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, NCP or maybe Shiv Sena. So it was an introductory meeting. The second meeting, gave it a formal alliance name, that is India. The third meeting was actually the decision-making meeting. It actually planned the future strategy for, this grand alliance called India now. The first things first. The first, to steerhead this particular India alliance, they have formed this coordination committee. Some decisions have been taken with a conscious. They decided not to have any kind of a convener because the message would have gone that if the Congress would have had its convener, in a place like Maharashtra, immediately the campaign would have started against Shiv Sena that, look, you have accepted Congress's leadership to fight against Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. So the convenership was dropped down. Rather than that, the 13 leaders coordination committee was formed. The 14 members committee, the CPM will give its name later. But that coordination committee has formed. The second takeaway from this is the inclusion of Sharad Pawar himself. Sharad Pawar has himself given his name to be part of this coordination committee. So specifically in Maharashtra's point of view, there was no clarity about what Sharad Pawar is going to do. Even if he has been saying that he is going to be with India Alliance, half of his party, more than half of his party has gone with the BJP. Despite that, Pawar now has made it very clear, underlying very clear, that he is going to lead the India Alliance partner as a coordination committee member. He is going to be with the India Alliance. That thing has been very clear. The third takeaway from what I can see here, and most of the speeches what they made in front of the media, is that now the time has come to hit the streets. Mamata Banerjee, who was not there, present there, she has to catch the fight, so she actually left before the press conference actually started. It was not a press conference, kind of a press briefing it was, because we were not allowed to ask questions. So Mamata Banerjee insisted that now the time has come to stop these dinner diplomacies, but rather than that, hit the street. Take up the issues of the people, show the people that we are together on the street, and that's what they are starting from the third week of the September, when actually the government has announced a special session to discuss Amrut Kal, and that is the time when the opposition parties are going to hit the streets. So these are the main important takeaways. And the fourth and the last one, which is most important, which specifically the parties from Maharashtra and Bihar were pushing for, is to start talks about the seat sharing. Who is going to contest how many seats? Because there was a lot of confusion with respect to that. That is what needs to be finalized. The India Alliance, in actual alliance, will fight elections in at least 6 states. UP, Bihar, Maharashtra, Bengal, and some of the states in the south, that specifically with respect to Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So these are the places where the seat sharing talks should start immediately, which Congress was not earlier ready, but now they have realized that if elections happen earlier, a lot of people actually said this also, that there is a possibility, including Nitish Kumar, made it very clear that there is a possibility that elections may appear earlier than what we are expecting.
And that is the reason, and Sahil, that in fact is the reason why, there is no time to waste as far as these seat sharing talks are concerned, especially in those states that you've actually identified. Mausami, quickly coming to you, you're still at that venue where that press briefing happened. The motto, the resolution, everything has been put out. They've also talked about hitting the ground running. Like Mamata Banerjee says, the time for vibing and forging relationships is over. Now it's time for street action. So are we going to see, joint campaigns and public events, on the election battlefield in the next few days and weeks?
Surely, Shiv, and the India members can pat their back. That's so far so good. They've come here, finished 3 meetings. By the end of every meeting, they've been on the stage together. Arvind Kejriwal, Aam Aadmi Party hasn't run away as said by the BJP. There's no factionism. Repeatedly, even Arvind Kejriwal today said significantly that none of us are after any post. They are issuing the same lines, humming the same tones and tunes. So perhaps it's an alliance that's just got going. And we'll have to see whether they can rough it out in the run-up to the election campaigns. But clearly, they're making the right noises. Today, several leaders spoke and they were all taking the cue from each other. The body language, the bonhomie was for everybody to see. And they also spoke about agendas and ideas. Rahul Gandhi said that we are going to get a set of ideas. So there is an understanding. It's not only about defeating Prime Minister Narendra Modi. You'll have to get a set of ideas in place that are convincing enough. And perhaps at the crux of it will be this idea of Satyamev Jayate. You can see that we're at the same venue where they put up this copy of the Constitution, the Ashok Pillar, and there, Bharat Mata, Satyamev Jayate, where the venue is to remind the India members and in fact send in a message that we are here to in fact stand for the core values of India.
Very, very interesting. Lots of symbolism. The body language appeared to be there, but now the difficult part begins. Preeti, I wanted to bring you in. You know, Rahul Gandhi said a very interesting thing. He said that he was very glad to see, during the course of the meeting, a great deal of flexibility, that, all the leaders, the senior leaders looked to be trying to forge relationships, and, the rapport he saw was really good, which is very interesting and significant because, in the weeks leading up to this meeting, many of those differences have been amplified, especially in the media. Do you think, in your view, Preeti, that seat sharing will go smoothly? I don't think anybody expects it to go smoothly, but do you see any major pitfalls? Because this is the hard part.
Well, Shiv, I think away from managing the optics, because what the India Alliance was doing till now was manage the optics. I would think the Mumbai chapter of the India Alliance has proven to be, at least till now, the most productive. Why I say that? Because there's something tangible that has come out of it. Till now, there was, people were just trying to feel each other,
right.
get a fix on whether they can sit on the same table.
With each other, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But right now is the time where at least something tangible has come out. I think what's really big in terms of the biggest takeaway from this, number one, definitely, it's the fact the Congress till now wanted to wait for the winter elections before they even talk seat sharing, because they were hoping to get enough elbow room by making gains in these elections. The sheer fact, which was echoed by Rahul Gandhi as well, where he also said that we are going to move on immediately to seat sharing. The Congress recognizes, reads the writing on the wall. And possibly what went down yesterday is the entire buzz, whether one election, one poll or early election, all of that has enabled the Congress to maybe smell the coffee.
Right.
Number one.
Right.
Number two, they've all come down and decided they will fight together. It's a part of their resolution. Now, I'll give you an example. And Arvind Kejriwal, it's very rare that you would see a press conference, by somebody from the India Alliance where the one of the senior leaders, which was Atashi in this case, sit and say that my leader does not want to be the Prime Minister. He will not be the Prime Minister.
Right.
So they are making a clear public messaging, very clear, that, this is not their worry. This is going to be the last of it. Number three, the sheer fact in 2 weeks from time, Shiv, that you're going to come out and the special session is going to go out.
Yeah.
The India Alliance is going to be holding public rallies, if it actually gets down to it, which I think is what the plan is. But ultimately, what is the biggest takeaway? Look at that 13-member committee, right? There are chief ministers in that committee. It's a senior leadership. So they're very serious about the coordination committee. They've already announced the name of the subcommittees as well. There are 3 subcommittees. A campaign committee has been announced. A social media committee has been announced. A media committee has been announced. But when it comes down to the coordination committee, we were very right that there is not going to be a coordinator named.
Right.
But who's the undeclared coordinator of this?
The convener,
Mr. Sharad Pawar, the undeclared convener of this 13-member committee.
Right.
Now, will he take the role of a Harkishan Singh Surjeet in 2004 and rally this UPA then, and now India Alliance together? Time will tell. But for the first time, Shiv, this alliance is making the right political noise in terms of tangible output.
Very, very interesting. So, even though a convener has not officially been announced, for all practical purposes, it seems like, that's basically what has happened in the name of Sharad Pawar. Sahil, I'm coming to you in just 30 seconds. I just want to play out one, piece of graphical data for our viewers, and then I'm coming straight to you, Sahil, because Team India is padding up for the 2024 war. Now it's about action. All the sentiments are done. Now it's about getting to the actual brass tacks. Let's see how some of the numbers stack up. This is from the recent Mood of the Nation poll that India Today had commissioned via C-Voter. This is the data for the 2019 Lok Sabha election, where India Allies got 144 seats compared to 335 that the NDA bagged. That's in 2019. In terms of vote share, the India bloc polled 36% votes. Of course, it wasn't the India bloc at that time, as compared to 41% for the NDA. So this is what it looked like in 2019. I'll play some more figures in just a moment for you. But Sahil, you wanted to make a point on this convener issue. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part of the whole thing, most of the people here were expecting that the coordination committee, it will be a toothless tiger. Most of the people will not be part of the coordination committee. For the sake of it, they will have a coordination committee. But that has not happened. Gandhis have decided to stay away from the coordination committee. K.C. Venugopal, who is the General Secretary of Organization, is part of the coordination committee. So he can take decisions if it comes to the Congress. He has that stature in the Congress that he can take certain decisions. Sharad Pawar himself is part of the coordination committee who has that kind of experience in the politics, and he can speak to a lot of people who doesn't agree to a lot of things. He has that kind of a reach. Sanjay Raut, again, close confidant of Uddhav Thackeray, has been made part of the coordination committee. So again, that is important. Even if Mamata Banerjee, who could have been a troublemaker, is not part of the coordination committee, but she has given Abhishek Banerjee to the coordination committee, not somebody like Derek O'Brien, who will have to ask Mamata Banerjee before taking a decision. So look at the coordination committee. It's not a namesake coordination committee. The coordination committee can take decisions, and that is what the India Alliance partners are saying, that we are serious about what we are trying to do. Now, they know that their strength actually right now lies in some part of the west and the south part of India. The correction what they will need to do is in the northern part of India, in the Hindi belt of India, and that is where the Congress, Samajwadi Party and Aam Aadmi Party becomes very important. Forget Bihar, but in rest of the part. So that is the reason why the kind of speeches which has been made inside the meeting or at the press conference, people like Arvind Kejriwal are saying that keep your ego aside. Lalu Prasad Yadav made a very interesting point, that this is a time when you should forget what was your past, come together. So there are a lot of firsts for the Congress party also. This is the first time that the Congress has formed a pre-poll alliance with so many parties 8 months before the election. That has never happened before. This is the time, for the first time, Aam Aadmi Party is going to contest in alliance with somebody for the Lok Sabha elections. So the people who were talking about Ekla Chalaure are now part of the alliance. The people who were bloating about their past have tamed down and also decided to be part of the alliance. So this is a major shift, what I can see, as far as the India is concerned in this particular meeting.
Okay, so this is not just any random coordination committee, says Sahil. This is something which has been very deeply thought out. Each constituent of that coordination committee has been thoughtfully appointed with a certain purpose, and this is most certainly a coordination committee with teeth. Preeti says no convener named, but Sharad Pawar appears to be the first among equals, and he will probably essay that role in the absence of any formal convener being named. Now, let me just share some more information with you, because in the lead up to this entire this big meeting in Mumbai, like I said, the differences or the cracks in the coalition have sought to be amplified across the media. Some of them have become bigger headlines. The AAP versus the Congress in Punjab over the issue of seat sharing. Delhi seat sharing became a big headline point after Alka Lamba went public. Left versus the Trinamool continues to be an ongoing hostility in that state. The Congress versus the Trinamool, with the Trinamool saying that they will not contest seats with the Congress party, even though there was a clarification on that later. The Congress versus the left continues to be a festering issue as far as Kerala is concerned. The left accuses the Congress of joining hands with the BJP. NCP versus Sena. In Maharashtra, Sharad Pawar's meetings with nephew Ajit have angered the Uddhav Sena. The NCP versus the Congress, with the Maharashtra Congress raising concern over the Sharad Pawar, Ajit Pawar meetings. The Samajwadi Party versus the Congress Party in UP. The Congress leaders want to fight elections alone. All of these many different possible divergences have come in. Preeti, going forward now, could any of these be a stumbling block of any kind, or with time so short, with the pressure so big, with the buzz of early elections and all the other things that come with the pressures of a looming election, do you think that the flexibility, collaborative give and take spirit that's been explicitly mentioned in the resolution will be the tone and tenor of how things go forward?
If the tone and tenor is anything to go by, Shiv, for the first time you've seen every alliance partner very open and willing to compromise, willing to cede. Now let's look at it in terms of what this alliance is. Now there might be 28 parties, there will be a give and take where the smaller parties are concerned. What are the big parties? Now Congress possibly will be the fulcrum. Now in main states, they already have an alliance going. They have an alliance going with the DMK in Tamil Nadu, said they wouldn't shouldn't be much give and take there. It's
Yeah.
very understood what goes on there. In Bihar, they already have an alliance going. So they, again, that's pretty much laid to bed. In Maharashtra, Sahil might want to add, there might be a little bit of push and tug right now in the current scenario, because the Congress or even, the UBT Shiv Sena might want more because the NCP seemingly weakened. But having said that, it's also an alliance which is already brokered. Where will the issues come in, Shiv? The issues will come in with a state like West Bengal. Now, will the Congress be okay just to fight 3 or 4 seats? Because I don't see a Mamata Banerjee give even more than 3 seats to the Congress in West Bengal. The issues will come in a place like Delhi and Punjab. But this time it seems an Arvind Kejriwal is very willing to cede a bit of ground there. So will it be that, okay, fine, we'll cede space to you in Delhi, you take the lead in Delhi, which is the Congress, but let us take the lead in Punjab because we're already doing better. So in Punjab is what? 13 plus 1, which is 14 seats, Chandigarh. 2 of those are with the BJP. So already 13 lie with technically, what is the India alliance?
Correct.
Where will issues come in states like Haryana? Because the Aam Aadmi Party wants to make massive gains in Haryana. Another thing I'll tell you, Shiv, in the light of all of this, if things go completely, calmly, like what seems to have gone in right now, there are already indications that a party like the Aam Aadmi Party in the upcoming winter elections might fight these elections very much like they fought Karnataka, which is just to fight it, to keep the cadre motivated, but you know how they fought Karnataka. Not fight it.
Very, very interesting. So many moving parts. It would, it would be so fascinating to be able to sit in on some of these meetings that are going to happen now. But the action begins. I think, apart from all these very detailed observations made by by far India's best political journalists, Preeti, Sahil, Mosmi and their teams, I can tell you that for me, the big takeaway is that this is a kind of a line in the sand. Now it's a battle going forward. The, war mode for 2024 sort of begins today. I mean, it has begun earlier as well, but today it becomes about the Team India versus the Modi government, and we'll have to see how it goes. Of course, Preeti, me, Sahil, Mosmi and all of our teams will be there at every step of the way to bring you all of these big developments. Preeti, Sahil, Mosmi, thanks so much for the moment. Well, remember that one of the things that's added such a huge amount of urgency to the Team India proceedings and everything else is a wave of speculation regarding the purpose behind the special parliament session that's been called by the government. The centre has now established a committee focused on the concept of one nation, one poll. In other words, one season of elections at the centre, at the state level, that happens once every 5 years, and at the same time, in order to alleviate the wastage of resources and energy that could be used elsewhere, and the country doesn't need to be in constant election mode. Well, the committee chaired by former President Ramnath Kovind has triggered discussions on whether the Modi government intends to enact a legislation to implement one nation, one poll in the foreseeable future. Take a look.
एक बार 5 साल में एक बार चुनाव आए, महीना 2 महीना चुनाव का उत्सव चले, फिर सब काम में लगे। ये बात सबने बताई है। क्या ये समय की मांग नहीं है कि हमारे देश में कम से कम मतदाता सूची तो एक हो?
One nation, one poll or simultaneous synchronized elections to parliament and state assemblies is an idea that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has publicly advocated several times in the past. The Narendra Modi government has now set up a committee to study the proposal and submit its report. The panel will be headed by former President of India, Ramnath Kovind. The committee will have a former Chief Justice of India, a former Cabinet Secretary and a former Chief Election Commissioner as its members. BJP President JP Nadda on Friday met former President Ramnath Kovind. Soon after, the former president was tasked with the responsibility of heading the committee on simultaneous elections. The announcement caught the opposition completely by surprise. Vehemently opposing the proposal, the opposition India Alliance called One Nation, One Poll unconstitutional and against the basic principles of democracy.
How come all these distractions come only whenever PM Modi's friends are in trouble? Have they spoken to Election Commission at length? Have they seen the pros and cons? If they have, where is it? Shouldn't they put it up for public debate, or shouldn't they call up shouldn't they call all the political parties, regional and national parties, for a discussion on the pros and cons of it? It requires constitutional amendments.
क्या important और core issue 2014 से नहीं था? 2023 में याद आ गया जब सत्ता हाथ से जा रही है। 3 कमेटी रिपोर्ट्स बहुत स्पष्ट तरीके से कहती हैं कि 5 अमेंडमेंट्स करने पड़ेंगे। स्टेट असेंबलीज में ये आधे से ज़्यादा मेजॉरिटी होगी तब ये पारित होंगे। तो दुनिया को और देश को बेवकूफ़ बनाना बंद करें। देश के एजेंडा पे, इंडिया के एजेंडा पे चर्चा करें।
ये बार-बार अनएथिकल, इमोरल, इम्परमिसिबल अमेंडमेंट्स जो करते हैं, जो लगातार कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे और फेडरलिज्म पे प्रहार जो करते हैं, अगर कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ पावर एक जगह हो जाता है तो वो निश्चित तौर पे देश के लिए बहुत खतरे की बात है और मुझे ये सीक्रेसी समझ नहीं आती।
The BJP responded positively to the concept of simultaneous elections, saying that it is the need of the hour.
भारत में एक सरकार लोकसभा में मीन सेंट्रल में चुन के आते हैं, उसके बाद सारे 5 वर्ष कहीं ना कहीं चुनाव चलता रहता है, इसीलिए डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस में भी कई प्रॉब्लम होता है। इसलिए ये तो एक विचार है, एक विमर्शा तो होना चाहिए।
बार बार इलेक्शन विकास के कार्यों में बाधा पैदा करती है कि लोकसभा, विधानसभा और अन्य सभी प्रकार के इलेक्शन को एक साथ हम आयोजित करें। एक बेहतरीन पहल हुई है।
The biggest challenge in the way of one nation, one election is to synchronize the terms of various state legislative assemblies and the Lok Sabha. Simultaneous elections are not a new concept, having taken place 4 times in 1952, 1957, 1962 and 1967 elections in India. Bureau Report, India Today.
The India alliance has come together in a grand signal moment for opposition unity. The leaders have made all the right noises. The optics have been excellent. In an age of event management, this event was excellently executed. But the obvious contradictions, compulsions and cracks appear to have come screaming out in the first sentence of the resolution that Team India has put out, where they proclaim that the parties hereby resolve to contest the forthcoming Lok Sabha elections together as far as possible. Together as far as possible. Those words may have been included in a spirit of candor, pragmatism and acceptance of the obvious differences that exist between many of these new frenemies. But if you think about it, there couldn't possibly be a more honest admission of this difficult reality. Together as far as possible. It's true. The India Alliance has said that seat sharing will take place in a collaborative spirit of give and take. But nice words oftentimes mask an underlying reality. The Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party don't want to share seats in Punjab. Neither do they want to in Delhi. The left won't share space with the Trinamool in Bengal. The Trinamool won't share seats with the Congress. The Congress and the left won't share space in Kerala. It's true that many of these bickerings have come into the public domain courtesy lower rung leaders, and these may be glossed over and papered over and fixed by senior leaders who are represented at the Team India Alliance. But that doesn't mean they don't continue to be challenges. Many of these parties exist thanks to the decimation of others who are sitting beside them. The Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, the left and the Trinamool. But what the India Alliance has done today is not small. They've put in place a coordination committee that will have the truly onerous task of coordinating between parties that must rapidly put their legacy, distrust and dislike of each other aside and work to project not just a united face, but a level of alignment and integration that can be sold to the people of India and convince them to vote out the Modi government. That's a far bigger challenge than anyone is thinking about right now. A day after becoming a lone ranger on the Adani controversy yesterday, inadvertently amplifying the total silence of every other Team India alliance member on this issue, Rahul Gandhi hit the mark today, in my opinion, by stating that the real work in this opposition meeting has been in forging relationships between the leaders and building rapport. He said he saw flexibility among them, and that could actually be key to the success of this opposition Gathbandhan. Like I said, all the right words and messages, but what the alliance will need, viewer, is a narrative. It doesn't matter what I think. And the alliance will undoubtedly say it has been raising all issues of public interest. But a general election isn't a morality play. It is a battle of perceptions, of narratives, of promises and credibility. Unity and singularity of purpose cannot just be about deposing Narendra Modi. Any opposition narrative will need to coalesce around a singular vision and what this grouping has to offer to the people of India. As my own colleague Rajdeep Sardesai said in his book 2019, a campaign crafted on negativism has diminishing returns. So far, that vision, at least to me and to millions of others perhaps, isn't apparently clear. And finally, there can't be any half measures in a battle of this kind. Democracy is most certainly about numbers, but when it comes to things like unity, there is no place for half measures. There's no 50% or 75% or 90% when it comes to unity. There's no as far as possible when the fight is this big, when the prize is the country itself. Pragmatism has its place, but if the elements that make up the India alliance themselves don't buy into the possibility of total unity, of purpose and execution, how can they expect the Indian public to? Like I said, the hard part begins now. There's no reason to believe that it won't go smoothly. A strong opposition is crucial for democracy, and India most definitely needs one. Here's wishing the India Alliance the very best on the road to 2024. Very quick break. On the other side, the national capital, meanwhile, is gearing up for another big event. That's, of course, the G20 Summit on the 9th and 10th of September. We're getting you a sneak preview into the deluxe hotspots of Delhi, where world leaders will be putting up all the preparations, all the glitz, everything you need to know after this break.
Once again, India Today wins Best Channel of the Year.
Thank you very much, viewers, for making the India Today Group the most awarded TV news network at the ENVA Awards 2023.
सरकार पूरी तरह से डरी हुई है, जल्दबाजी में फैसला लेने की कोशिश कर रही है, क्योंकि उसको पता है कि वो राज्यों में चुनाव हारने जा रही है। उसकी जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि संविधान में अगर कोई परिवर्तन करना चाहते हो तो आपको विपक्ष को कॉन्फिडेंस में लेना होता है, विपक्ष से आपको बात करनी होती है, राज्य के मुख्यमंत्रियों को बुला के आपको बात करनी पड़ती है, क्योंकि ये लोकतांत्रिक देश है। यहाँ कोई फैसला लेने के पहले आपको विपक्ष को भी कॉन्फिडेंस में लेना होता है, तभी आप कोई फैसला ले सकते हैं।
विशेष सत्र में भाजपा सरकार एक राष्ट्र एक चुनाव पर बिल लाने के लिए है, मगर ये ऐसे विषय हैं जिसको कि पॉलिटिकल गिमिक के रूप में न करके एक बैठ के विचार करके सारे स्टेक होल्डर से बातें करके कैसे इसकी बारीकियां होंगी, इसकी पेचीदगियां होंगी, वो करके लाने के बजाय अगर ये बुलडोज करती है तो इसे चुनावी गिमिक माना जाएगा।
Air quality today. In Delhi, 115. In Mumbai, 78. In Kolkata, 155. In Bangalore, 35. In Chennai, 71. In Hyderabad, 65.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
One week ago, the Indian Prime Minister and the Chinese President had shaken hands and briefly interacted with each other at the BRICS Summit in South Africa. Cut forward 1 week, and now Reuters, the world's largest news agency, reports that Xi Jinping, the President of China, is likely to skip the India-hosted G20 summit that's scheduled for the second week of September in India's national capital. Now, the interesting thing is, 1 week is a long time in international relations, but is it really true that Xi Jinping is not coming? Because both countries are silent on the Reuters report. Here's what we know so far.
A platform for global allies and rivals to meet. But speculations run rife over China President Xi Jinping's participation at the G20 scheduled in New Delhi. A Reuters report attributed to unnamed official sources suggests he is likely to skip the summit of the world's major economies happening in the Indian capital on September 9th and 10th. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman had nothing to offer immediately when asked in Beijing about reports regarding President Xi not attending the G20 meeting in New Delhi. The Reuters story had anonymous sources saying China's Premier Li Qiang is expected to represent Beijing at the upcoming summit. Xi's absence, if officially confirmed, would mark the first time he's missed a G20. The Russian president has already announced that he will not be travelling to New Delhi and will send his foreign minister. Meanwhile, the city decked up to receive the world leaders and other G20 delegates. New Delhi, awash in a blend of tradition and modernity. Not just aesthetics, security readiness also in full swing in the national capital. Police, paramilitaries, snipers, dog and bomb squads on the ground. Surveillance up in the air to ensure foolproof security for the major international event. India takes center stage to shape global cooperation and dialogue for a more prosperous future for all. Bureau Report, India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
And we've got breaking news coming in now. A day before the India-Pakistan one-day clash, Indian captain Rohit speaks on middle order woes. He says Jasprit Bumrah is in good shape. He's optimistic ahead of the Pakistan match. He's also talked about a high-risk approach. Let's listen in quickly to what he said.
देखिए बहुत अच्छी टीम है। पिछले कुछ सालों में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस किया है। चाहे T20 वर्ल्ड कप हो, 50 ओवर फॉर्मेट हो, कोई भी टीम ऐसे ही नंबर 1 नहीं बनती है। मेहनत होता है उसके पीछे और आई एम श्योर कि पाकिस्तान टीम ने काफ़ी मेहनत किया है इसके पीछे और काफ़ी यूनिट जैसी टीम है। अच्छा क्रिकेट खेल रही है। तो हमारे लिए एक अच्छा चैलेंज होगा ऐसे टीम के सामने खेलना और ऐसे टीम के सामने परफॉर्मेंस करना। प्रिपेयर हमने अच्छा किया है। हमारे पास यहाँ आने से पहले कुछ दिन थे, कुछ टाइम था हमारे पास जिसमें हमने वर्क किया है और होपफुली अभी आज का एक दिन है हमारे पास ट्रेनिंग करने के लिए। उसके बाद कल मैच है तो होपफुली जिन जिन चीज़ों के बारे में हमने बात किया है हम उस चीज़ों को अच्छे तरीके से कर।
And India Today's Nikhil Das joins us live from Palekele in Sri Lanka, where the one day takes place. Nikhil, what did you think of what Rohit Sharma said?
Well, Shiv, firstly, he looked very confident, but the thing that was slightly unusual was the fact that before India-Pakistan clash, sometimes there are some bold statements that are made from both sides, and a lot is spoken about, why we are strong and why the other team is weak. That wasn't the case. It was a very measured press conference by Rohit Sharma. In fact, he was all praise for the Pakistan team, saying that, listen, they are a very good team. They are now the #1 team in ODI cricket, and says that you don't become #1 like that. So they've been consistently playing very good cricket, as they showed at the T20 World Cup very recently, where they reached the final. So he's wary of the opponents. He said Pakistani fast bowlers have troubled Indian batsmen in the recent past. Shaheen Shah Afridi in particular has been very good against the Indian top order. He was asked that question. He said, listen, yes, there are good bowlers, but we also have got some 3 very good fast bowlers that are coming in here. And plus, in terms of our practice and preparation, we've done everything. The fact is, we do not have a Shaheen Shah Afridi or a Haris Rauf to bowl to us in the nets. So we can't get used to it. We can get used to the bowlers that are bowling in the nets. We'll use our experience and let the experience then come to the fore when that big clash starts tomorrow.
Okay, Nikhil, enjoy the match. Nikhil and his team will be bringing you all our build-up coverage today and tomorrow as well. All of that right here, of course, on India Today. Nikhil, thanks very much for joining me with that quick update on what the Indian captain has just said. Well, that's a wrap on 5 Live. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you at the same time Monday. But coming up next is 6 p.m. Prime with Akshita, who's live from Sriharikota, where tomorrow, just before noon, India aims for the sun. That's right, ISRO's Aditya L1 space mission to the sun blasts off tomorrow, and Akshita is right there at the launch site.
Aditya means the sun, and L1 is a point between Earth and Sun that offers an uninterrupted view of the closest star of our galaxy, hence the nomenclature of the latest ISRO project. Sun is the main source of energy of this solar system and holds the biggest secret of this universe. Aditya L1 of ISRO is the first Indian attempt to study and understand the sun. Aditya will first be placed on Earth-centered orbit before embarking on a 150 million kilometer journey from Earth's sphere of influence to different viewing points around the Sun. It will be placed in a cruising position at L1 between the Earth-Sun system in the halo orbit. The temperature at the surface of the Sun is about 10,000 Fahrenheit or 5,600 degrees Celsius. So there's no way anything comes remotely close to its surface without burning down to unimaginable ash particles. So all Sun missions are posted at different viewing points between the Sun and the Earth. These are called Lagrange points. These points are used by the spacecraft to station with minimal use of fuel while they continue to study the Sun from a safe distance. There are a total of 5 Lagrange or L points. Aditya would be placed at L1 that lies between Earth and the Sun. Aditya L1 will carry 7 payloads. 4 of them will carry out remote sensing of the Sun and 3 others will do in situ observations. To understand changes in Earth's ecosystems, study ice mass, vegetation, biomass, sea level rise. These observations and studies will help understand the groundwater of Earth and different natural hazards like earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions and landslides. In total, 9 solar missions have happened so far by countries like the US and the European Union to different Lagrange points of the Sun. Aditya L1 comes with the promise to open up a new galaxy of knowledge for India.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 40 and minimum 29 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 35 and minimum 28 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 29 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 33 and minimum 24 degrees.
Riding high on Chandrayaan-3's successful landing, ISRO is now gearing up for the next cosmic quest. Aditya L1 mission is what we are talking about. This is ISRO's first solar mission. We're talking about India's feet on the moon, eyes now on the sun. Let's talk about this particular mission, Aditya L1, which, like I said, is ISRO's India's first solar mission. The vehicle first. Aditya L1 is going to be hitching a ride on India's heavy-duty launch vehicle, which is the PSLV-XL. The PSLV-XL weighs 320 tons and the height is 44.4 meters. The PSLV-XL is a 4-stage vehicle with multiple satellite launch capabilities and multiple orbit capabilities. Just take a look at how this essentially is going to take off and place itself on the sun's halo orbit.
And liftoff. What then is the Lagrange point? Now named after Joseph Louis Lagrange, a French mathematician who first studied them in the 18th century, the Lagrange points are points in space where the gravitational forces of two large bodies such as the Sun and the Earth balance out, creating a region of equilibrium. Now these points in space can be used by spacecraft to reduce fuel consumption needed to remain in position. There are 5 of them: L1, L2, L3, L4 and L5. L1 is about 1.5 million kilometers from the Earth, or approximately 1% of the Earth-Sun distance. It is essentially the vantage point. Let's talk about the journey to L1. Well, after being placed in a low Earth orbit by ISRO's PSLV-XL rocket, the orbit is going to be made more elliptical, and spacecraft will be launched towards L1 point by using on-board propulsion. As the spacecraft travel towards L1, it will exit Earth's gravitational sphere of influence, or SOI. After the exit, cruise phase will start and craft will be injected into a large halo orbit around L1. It is going to take 4 months for the spacecraft to reach its destination. What then are the main objectives of this solar mission? The spacecraft carries 7 payloads designed to study the sun's atmosphere and its interaction with the solar wind. The mission is aimed at studying the super high temperatures of solar corona, the dynamics of solar system and the solar temperature non-uniformity. It will also study and evaluate the main drivers of space weather. Let's now talk about Aditya L1 science payloads here. Now, of the 7 payloads, 4 will directly study the sun and the remaining 3 will in situ carry out in situ studies of particles and fields at the Lagrange point, that's the L1. The science payloads of Aditya L1 are indigenously developed by different labs in the country. With 1 billion people praying for ISRO's success in unison, the countdown to Mission Sun has officially begun.
LIC हर पल आपके साथ।
Volkswagen,
Hello and welcome to this special broadcaster on India Today. I'm joining you from Sri Harikota on this edition of 6 p.m. Prime. We're counting down to the launch of Aditya L1. Meters away from me is the Satish Dhawan Space Center, which is where the missile is locked and loaded, ready to take off. This is the PSLV that I'm talking about. You can see prototypes behind me. We're getting you all the latest from the ground of the special broadcast over the next 30 minutes. Every detail that you need to know about the Aditya L1 is coming your way. 18 hours to go. At 11:50 a.m. tomorrow is when, in fact, Aditya L1 will take off to the skies. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. Here's a glimpse of what you can expect over the next half hour.
India's first ever solar mission. A mission to unlock mystery of the sun. Aditya L1 to blast off tomorrow. In 18 hours, lift off from Sriharikota. India Today gets you a 360-degree launch view. Special broadcast from launch site Sriharikota. India's big Surya Namaskar. Our top focus at 6 p.m. prime.
That's right, get set for India's Surya Namaskar. This is a satellite, Aditya L1, that will be launched at 11:50 a.m. from the Satish Dhawan Space Center behind me. Everything's locked and loaded. ISRO has confirmed that they're all set for the launch to take place as scheduled. And here on India Today, we're building up to this much-awaited space event. We've conquered the moon and the sun. Obviously, is next for our ISRO heroes. This is a special broadcast that's not just me getting you from Sriharikota. My colleague Neha Batam from our sister channel Aaj Tak is also joining me on this broadcast from another vantage point. Pramod Madhav, who's been getting you every exclusive conversation, every update from ISRO in the last few days, is also here in Sriharikota. And this is all to ensure that you don't miss any update that comes in right now from the Indian Space Research Organization. We also have an expert from the European Space Agency joining us on this broadcast. Dr. Ramesh, who knows a thing or two about solar sun missions, will be explaining to us the significance of Aditya L1. So we've ensured over the next 30 minutes we get you the most comprehensive broadcast here on India Today to answer all of your layman queries, and if you're an expert, to answer those questions as well. First, as always, let's begin with the headlines. Team India sets ball rolling for elections, forms 13-member coordination panel. Opposition bloc to also finalize state-wise seat-sharing formula in states immediately. Centre sets a panel of One Nation, One Election with former President Ramnath Kovind as the chief. Team India hits out, calls it unconstitutional. Youth shot dead at Union Minister Kaushal Kishore's Lucknow residence. Murder weapon recovered allegedly belongs to the minister's son. Amid suspense over China's Xi Jinping absence at the G20 Summit, US President Joe Biden says he's hopeful his Chinese counterpart will attend the summit in New Delhi.
The answer is I hope he attends.
All right, thanks everybody.
The answer is I hope he attends.
All right, thanks everybody. India's golden boy Neeraj Chopra clinches silver at the Zurich Diamond League, misses out on top spot by just 0.15 meters. And it's the mega clash tomorrow. Arch rivals India and Pakistan to face off on Saturday for the Asia Cup. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma exudes confidence of a win. So I'm standing outside the Satish Dhawan Space Center. The last time around when we were giving you and getting you all the details on Chandrayaan 3, I was in Bengaluru because that's where the tracking center is, that's where the headquarters is. Behind me, this is in Sriharikota, and I'll just show you what's happening here. This is the Satish Dhawan Space Center. It's from here that all of your launches take place, whether it's, satellites like Aditya L1, whether it's missions like Chandrayaan 3 and all of those spacecraft. All of those happen from here because of the massive area, the land that ISRO has in this particular center, the Satish Dhawan Space Center. Security has been beefed up, which we'll get Pramod to explain to you in just a bit. You can see a lot of people, not just locals, but interestingly, I've been seeing a lot of tourists come here also to click pictures, click selfies from the Satish Dhawan Space Center. And that's how epic space really has become for every Indian. They kind of, recognize and it resonates with them. Space tech, space reform and India's space journey. And all of that is courtesy what our ISRO heroes have accomplished. They've given us many reasons to celebrate. Tomorrow will be another one. It's a big day for space. It's a big day for sport. And it's amazing to see that Indians today are celebrating both in equal measure. Tomorrow, 11:50 a.m. is when Aditya L1 will be launched. I'll be one of the lucky few who will be able to witness it live, but I promise to get you all the action from the ground as well. But what really is Aditya L1 about? Why is ISRO putting its focus on the sun? Let me first get you the latest report about what's happening and the latest reaction from ISRO Chief Dr. Somnath.
The countdown to the launch of India's first solar mission, Aditya L1, has begun. The Indian Space Research Organization is all set to launch its first space mission to study the sun at 11:50 a.m. on Saturday from Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh.
तो सब कुछ ऑन ट्रैक है और कोई भी ऐसी कोई ये देखी नहीं है जिसके कारण हमको लॉन्च में कोई बाधा आए, तो वो सब देखते हुए हमारे लॉन्च का ऑथराइजेशन मोरलेस हमने क्लियर कर दिया.
Aditya L1 is designed to provide remote observation of the solar corona and in situ observation of the solar winds at L1 or the Sun-Earth Lagrange point 1, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. Not only will the Aditya L1 ISRO study the sun's atmosphere and its interaction with solar winds, but it also aims to look into the super high temperature of the solar corona and the dynamics of the solar system. Additionally, Aditya L1 will observe solar temperatures, non-uniformity, along with looking at the main drivers of space weather. Just ahead of the launch, ISRO Chief S. Somnath visited the Sri Chengalamma Parmeshwari temple and prayed for the success of the mission.
Next launch is this one, Aditya L1. What is next launch? Another one. After that launch is Gaganyaan launch. Gaganyaan launch will be a test vehicle launch. So it is getting ready. So that will happen mostly by October, first or second week.
जी हाँ, अब हम फाइन ब्रेकिंग वेज के एकदम करीब आ चुके हैं. हाँ, तालियों के.
On the 23rd of August, India became the first country to land a spacecraft close to the lunar south pole. For ISRO, the solar mission success would be another feather in India's cap. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's take this across to our reporters live who are joining us from Sriharikota, who, like me, will be here tomorrow to witness the magic as Aditya L1 takes to the skies. Neha Batam joining us live from Sriharikota. We also have Pramod Madhav. Pramod Madhav, you're our in-house expert essentially on everything Aditya L1. You've had the opportunity to have so many exclusive conversations with the team that's been actively involved in building Aditya L1. Today is the day, of course, that I'm sure they'll be full of nerves, but also equally full of excitement. Take it away, what's happening around you?
It absolutely is, Akshita. Like, in fact, just like you mentioned, we could simply show you the rockets that actually would carry the spacecraft. We have the GSLV, GSLV-2, and also the PSLV on the right side. That's the one. That's the rocket. In fact, we could call it as the XL version because it's going to have 4 stages: one solid, one liquid, another solid, and another liquid stage. And on top of that, inside the heat shield, you would have the Aditya L1. And for the scientific community itself, it's a very big deal because this particular satellite, the spacecraft, is going to actually cruise up to 1.5 million kilometers, which is the distance 1% between the Earth and the Sun. And the very interesting aspect here is that this time, instead of actually orbiting any kind of space object, be it like a moon or a kind of like a planet. This time we are actually going to go around an imaginary point called as the Lagrange point, and this is a point where the actual gravitational force of the sun and the earth will be almost having the same kind of power, which will actually hold the satellite at that location. In fact, we are not going to go to the exact Lagrange point, but we are going to be there with an angular diversion of 5 to 20 degrees. That way, this imaginary point will be orbited by our Aditya L1, from where it will collect all the data. In fact, I'm showing you over this gate. You cannot even cross this gate right now, Akshita, because that's the kind of security over here. This is not even the starting point. From here, almost a kilometer away, you have the second gate, and this place is completely cordoned off. A lot of security measures have been placed over there, because this is a kind of dedication ISRO puts in to send the rocket up to that point, Akshita.
I wish we could go in, Prabodh. We tried hard. We have our passes with us, but those passes are valid only for tomorrow. We tried hard to get in, but we were told very clearly, no, this is a high security location, which we completely understand, right? They're getting set for this big launch. Tomorrow we'll be inside, so we'll be getting you a much closer view of that launch pad. Everything's primed, everything is ready. I want to take this across to Neha Batam also, who shares my excitement, because Neha, like me, has flown down from Delhi for this historic moment. Is going to be one of the lucky few to witness the launch of Aditya L1. What's got you particularly excited about this mission, Neha?
Everything about it, Akshita, and right from the time when the countdown began at 12:10 this afternoon until the time we wait for the watches to go past 11:50 tomorrow morning, everything is going to get us the excitement, the euphoria, which we witnessed for Chandrayaan 3 as well, because this mission is very special for India. Before this, only NASA and the European Space Mission could be able to get closer to the sun through their solar missions. In fact, Aditya L1 was mentioned by the Prime Minister in his speech once the Chandrayaan 3 landed, and you remember how ecstatic he was. And in a similar manner, we are also very excited. It has 7 payloads, in fact, which will gather a lot of information about the sun, like the solar emissions, the solar temperature, the entire atmosphere around the sun, because it's about 15 lakh kilometers away from the Earth that this Aditya L1 mission is going to be placed. And also the fact that it is made with an estimated cost of 400 crores, which is like a huge sum. And it also indicates the fact how much India is investing in its solar missions or its moon missions. And both were in fact if I'm not wrong, about 10 days apart. So it was the right time for the launch, and we witnessed how in the morning all these scientists along with Mr. Somnath went to the temple and prayed for its success with a miniature of the Aditya L1 mission, the entire spacecraft.
You know, there's been a lot of talk of faith or science. I think our ISRO heroes have shown that both can be combined and ensure success for the nation. Neha, making several points there that I want to pick out. One about the cost of Aditya L1. It's a huge amount of 400 crores, but you picture that and juxtapose it against how much other countries have spent on solar missions. It's nothing. It's about $45 million. And when you compare it to the US or Europe, it's at least $100 million plus. So you can imagine how much, again, India is saving on space tech. And all that is courtesy of our ISRO scientists ensuring everything is made at home, made in India. That's what's made the real difference in the costing of whether it's a Chandrayaan 3 or an Aditya L1. Let's take this across to an expert also. Neha, Pramod, Rukesh, both of you to stay on with me. I want to introduce on this broadcast Dr. Ramesh Chelladurai, who's part of the European Space Agency, the ESA. He's a ground services manager there. So Dr. Chelladurai, a pleasure having you with us here on India Today. Considering that ESA has already accomplished a solar mission, you have a solar orbiter in place, sir. Can you explain to us how hard really is a sun mission, a solar mission?
Sure. Basically, science is all about understanding the basic dynamics of how things work, how things interact. So, if we ask the question, how much do we know about the sun? Very little. So we have started the journey in understanding the dynamics of sun since there has been a couple of missions, Ulysses, Solar Orbiter, SOHO, even Cluster. But Do we know enough? No, not yet. So any mission which is going to study the sun and the way how it is behaving would be really beneficial for the scientific community. We might have some new understandings about the sun, and there is a lot to learn about the way how sun acts and behaves.
But I wonder, Dr. Chaladurai, one point that's really stuck out for all of our viewers is the fact that this satellite is going to take 4 months to reach the point, which is the Lagrange imaginary point where it's going to be doing that halo orbit. 1.5 million kilometers. Is that the hardest part, the distance to cover over 4 months?
In terms of journey and the distance, yes, it is a long distance. But on the other hand, there are many other factors which also play a major role. For example, positioning the spacecraft in its final L1 orbit, it's one of the hardest part as well. We call it as station keeping maneuvers, which will have to be done regularly in order to keep the spacecraft in its position. So looking at the whole thing as someone who is into spacecraft operations, I would say there are many other challenges as well. And traveling to a farther distance like L1, yes, it is also one of the important challenges which we will have to face.
From what you're telling us, clearly this is a difficult mission. And the fact that ISRO is pulling this off is amazing. It's an amazing feat because, again, we join a very elite space league. From the details that we have right now, Dr. Chaladurai, of the many payloads on board Aditya L1 to, track the magnetic field, to track the solar particles, to track solar flares and how it affects the Earth's temperature. What excites you the most about Aditya L1 and its payloads?
It is just adding value to the scientific community. So to answer your question, we will have to look into the immediate needs of the scientific community within India, basically because ISRO is sending the mission to meet the needs of the scientific community within India, which would also be beneficial for the worldwide scientific community. So the requirements come from those users who are going to use the data from the spacecraft. So which data will be valuable? It would be hard to say now. What will Aditya find out once it is in orbit? We do not know yet. It is a long way to go. We still have some more months to wait for. But based on the valuable data it brings, the scientific community will have to make this final statement on this declaration.
Okay, and my final question to you, Dr. Chaladurai, is something our viewers have been asking a lot. Why is it that ISRO has zeroed in on the sun after the moon? Why is it crucial to kind of research and study the sun in this manner? Why is it that ISRO and NASA also have invested in these kind of satellites?
It is important. When we look at the scope of the space activities which has been carried out in the past by ISRO, of course, all the space missions will be of value to the Indian community. Now that we have landed on the surface of the moon, and the next steps would be, one can imagine that it would be sending humans or talking about the Gaganyaan mission. There will be a huge impact on the humans one day if we plan to go to the moon or even send astronauts through the Gaganyaan mission, because the effects of radiation and the space weather can have a direct impact on these missions, either be it a future lunar program or be it a Gaganyaan. So it is essential that ISRO has a post out there in space to be able to capture what is going on in terms of the space weather and convert that data for using it for the other missions. So that is point number one. And you can also add by saying that It is just like having a post out there wherein we capture the data before it reaches the Earth, which we call as prediction. So the impact of solar flares, the coronal mass ejections, it would be much, much beneficial for the Indian infrastructure on ground to be able to prepare themselves in case one day if there is a serious consequence coming naturally from the sun.
Very, very interesting details that you've given us, Dr. Chaladurai. Thank you very much for joining us here on India Today, and hopefully we'll reconnect with you once the launch is successful. Neha, Pramod and I are here in Sriharikota. We're going to be joined by my colleague Kumar Kunal as well tomorrow. And between the four of us, we promise to get you a 360-degree view of the launch, get you every single detail that you need to know about the Aditya L1 mission. Tomorrow is the India-Pakistan match. Tomorrow is also the launch of Aditya L1. And as I started off saying of this broadcast, we Indians now are equally interested and passionate about both space and science and sports. So sports and space, both is something that we will keep a close eye on. That's it from me. Thanks very much for tuning in to this special edition of 6 p.m. Prime. This is me, Akshita Nandagopal, signing off from Sriharikota, the Satish Dhawan Space Centre.
Once again, India Today wins Best Channel of the Year.
Thank you very much, viewers, for making the India Today group the most awarded TV news network at the ENVA Awards 2023.
Sun keeps the solar system together, from the biggest planet Jupiter to the smallest particles in its orbit. 4.5 billion years old Sun is a hot glowing ball of hydrogen and helium. Sun can accommodate 1.3 million Earths. From the powerful eruptions to the steady stream of charged particles, the Sun influences the nature of space throughout the solar system. Sun doesn't spin like, let's say, the Earth. Sun is made up of super hot, electrically charged gas called plasma. This plasma rotates at different speeds on different parts of the Sun. At its equator, the Sun completes one rotation in 25 Earth days. At its poles, the Sun rotates once on its axis every 36 Earth days. The temperature in the Sun's core is about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, or 15 million degrees Celsius. It is so hot that it can sustain a nuclear fusion. This creates outward pressure that supports the star's gigantic mass, keeping it from collapsing. Above the Sun's surface are its thin chromosphere and the huge corona or the crown. This is where features such as solar prominences, flares and coronal mass ejections happen. Sun flares and coronal mass ejections are giant explosions of energy and particles that can reach Earth. A solar probe typically looks at studying all of these from a safe distance so that nothing gets burned down. Solar probes are also carried out to predict successfully the flares and giant explosions that propel particles from it and can cause serious damage to any spacecraft. Center and has the capability to alter atmospheres of different planets, including Earth. Sun is a relatively younger star in our galaxy. Study of the Sun helps understanding other stars in the Milky Way and galaxies beyond. The various thermal and magnetic phenomena on the Sun are of extreme nature, so the Sun provides a good natural lab to understand those phenomena. These otherwise cannot be directly studied in the lab. All these studies lead to a better understanding of Earth, its atmosphere, genesis of this solar system, and the universe.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.